They were with the song. And a lot of the clubs got squeamish about it, but not the Grange Rotary Club. And you can't just randomly say, we're not singing today. All right? So pull your book out and turn to song number 44, page 62. This is a mutiny. Not a big mutiny, just a little mutiny.
Well, no, now that you got the books first.
All right, you're okay with it. So I do not know. I know how to butcher this tune. We'll see how we do. All right. Now, it's song number 44, page 62. Let me call you sweetheart. I hope you got plans for your spouse tomorrow. And if this is your first time realizing that it's Valentine's Day tomorrow, get it together. All right, everybody stand up. Stand up. Ready? Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so true. Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Before I got up here, I pushed it every time, so that was my best. Oh, that was my best. You may notice that Al did something a little different this year. I got on the internet and I looked up the Kentucky Speakers Bureau. I've gotten 2 of the Kentucky Speakers Bureau speakers to speak, and when I went to one of their little conferences, it was a lot of fun. I met Christy. And so she says, I'll do Rotary Club. Christy has over 25 years of experience in marketing and advertising and leadership development, over 10 years of executive and business coaching. She has a degree from Indiana University and certifications from Berklee College of Music and the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. She has served as a director of the board for multiple organizations and stays involved in various committees. Music moves her soul. Traveling recharges her, and hero stories inspire her to help the world in her own unique, wonderful way. I think she's got a hero story for you today. Please welcome Christy Smallwood.
Very much.
She wrote it all, but that was a fun introduction.
No, thanks. That's so wonderful. Awesome. I have a clicker and everything.
It's working right now.
If it doesn't, I'll tell you.
Yeah, thank you.
When to do it. First of all, I do appreciate you guys for letting me be just slightly more casual than I normally would be up in front on the stage, but you guys have been so welcoming already that I feel like I don't have to wear the big heavy leather jacket up front. So thank you for that. And I also want to say thank you, Al, for coming to the NSA that day to meet a bunch of us to kind of get to know what speakers do and how we work our business and how we get better at what we are trying to accomplish in the world. Which one of the things that I'm not sure, I don't even pay attention to my own bio anymore, is that I do have a couple of businesses and I have a show for businesses. So one of my businesses is a marketing company, and I have a
Zoom in the Rotary meeting.
And then my business show is about spotlighting business owners.
Okay.
What are their best practices and things that they do in the world. And one of the things that really, at my core, I love to do is spark that inspiration that ignites action for business professionals and leaders in the community like yourselves. Because what that does is create a ripple effect of all good things that happen in the world, and it can change the world for the better. I love to be a little bit of spark. But what I've discovered over the years is before I can even help reignite some sort of energy into them, we have to break their status quo. And that hurts, to be quite honest, because when you have to come face to face with the fact that you've been doing something that is holding you back over and over your entire life, you have to come face to face with it, and it's never a pretty sight. But that's what happens when complacency sets in. So I've been asked to give another speech eventually in a couple of weeks, so I thought I would bring some of that to you guys today. So you guys are kind of my beta testers. You up for that? Would love your feedback after this, because it needs to make sense. I need things to make sense for my audiences. All right. So let's start with.
I'll advance it for you, Christy.
Thank you. What's happening with the clicker? It's not. Was that me or you? Okay, very good. So complacency, by definition of the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is all of these words that kind of all boil down to we haven't been paying attention to the dangers that are coming our way. That's what status quo does to us. We kind of know things are going on out there, but who cares? Like, I'm good. Things have always been working. I don't have to worry about it. But what happens when status quo sets in, your comfort zone becomes the danger zone. And now we've grown too comfortable in things. So we've got to get out of that somehow. And what we think that status quo and complacency looks like is this. When we look around at the world, we think it is the Homer Simpson type that's just completely ignoring the fact that the bells and whistles are going off. We think that's what that is. When in reality, it could look as something as simple as this. This little girl, that's me, wasn't I absolutely adorable? Is that my camera? Probably. Pause for a hot second. Just turn it on and then hit record and see if it'll stay recording. Okay. And then the little side button. Yep. Awesome. Now it shouldn't power off. You can hear it from the back. Danger again. So this little girl, by the way, again, I was adorable in pigtails. I wondered why I don't do that more often, because I was adorable in pigtails. But this little girl had no idea that her formative years was living in this type of a status quo that was going to destroy her life later. No idea that the environment in which I was growing up in, that is creating all of my behaviors, my belief sets, that philosophy, the way I think about the world around me, the way I think about myself, how I'm showing up, and how I am making decisions, it's formed back there. Never knowing that I had an option to even change any of that stuff. I didn't realize that the chaos I was growing up in was destroying my body, destroying my life over time. My family was filled with drama, addicts, alcoholics, abusers, murders, you name it, we had it in my family. And when I look back, now it's labeled childhood trauma. But this little girl had no idea that trauma was her status quo. From 4 to 40, I had no idea that that was the status quo. But when you start to fast forward, even me being an overachiever, pretty much everything I did, that behavior and that belief set that got formed early on stuck with me throughout my life, and it cost me literally everything. So over time, going through adolescence, getting out of the family stuff, I married the wrong guy. That was a horrible decision because it was filled with trauma, toxicity, and abuse. Left that, thinking, okay, now I'm going to do something different. I thought differently, but yet each of my relationships were filled with trauma, toxicity, and abuse. Even my working relationships. So whenever I got fired from KFC in 2009, which was a blessing in disguise, I was able to go do something different with my life. And that's when I decided to get trained as an executive coach. I want to be able to help others. I want to do something different. And that's great. Overachiever me, I still need to prove I'm worthy to exist in this world. That's what overachievers tend to do at our subconscious level. I was doing all kinds of wonderful things. I took on a business partnership. We created a whole new business model, and we were banging it out of the park the first few months. And that's when God said, I've been trying to teach you something. You aren't listening. And everything fell apart. When I say everything, y'all, this is like a bad country song. Finances were not going our way, so the business was not taking off like I thought it was. So it lost a lot of money. Losing money causes you to lose a house. So I lost my house. I moved in with my best friends, and they were all good for a few months until they decided they were going to get a divorce, and nobody claimed me in that divorce. Lost my support system, which meant I also needed to find a new home for my cats, who were my companions at the time. So I had to move them to Texas, of all places. Came back, my truck died. So no home, no companion, no support system, no vehicle. My health was failing miserably. Should have went to the hospital for all the things that were going on. No insurance, no money, no nothing. I had lost everything. My business partner at the time looked at me and said, don't bring that to work. So what I thought was working so well, the friendship that was so vibrant, like fireworks in the sky, fizzled just quickly. What do you do when you literally lose everything? So being as vulnerable as I was, and honestly, guys, it's the first time I really talk about this. So if I stumble over words or if I get a little emotional, bear with me. Got it? So in those moments, and I know some of you might be thinking, man, that girl needs some Jesus. I do have Jesus, but even in church settings, those relationships were full of trauma, toxicity, and abuse. So what became for me, I didn't have a safe place. I looked around, I was like, okay, what are the basics that I need to have covered? Do I have a roof over my head? Do I have, like, okay. So I got to a point where I at least had some basics. I knew I was clothed, fed, roof. Now what? Start reflecting. Like, I just want to feel better. And our best friend came along and she said, you have had enough. You're coming with us. I was like, where are we going? She's like, we're going to Disney. I was like, I can't afford Disney. She's like, just pay for your ticket. We got everything else. Her family trip. She had recently come off of a divorce. Y'all, I was packed in a car with 2 teenage boys, her and her mom. And these teenage boys, 16. Can you imagine the smell? Just gonna say. That was an adventure all by itself. So we get to Disney. My business partner at the time was calling me what seemed like every 10 minutes to create a bad day in my seemingly good day. Her mother looks at me and she's like, you hand me that phone right now and you walk away. I was like, what? So I had to hand, like, you don't argue with mom, right? You just hand over the phone. I walked away. So I'm walking around Disney and I'm looking at all of the stuff. And how many of you have been to Disney recently or even in the past 10 years? Disney's just a great place that Walt set it up for us to be able to escape. And I loved it. So I'm walking around and I'm finally feeling like, okay, I got this. I'm going to go ride this ride. I am standing in line and my body freaks out, like freaking out. Sensations I had not felt before, never recalled. Like, what is happening? Am I having an aneurysm? Nope, that's immediate. I wouldn't even know. It's like, am I having a heart attack? Nope, everything, it's not that. So it's not a heart attack. It's not an aneurysm. Am I having a stroke? No, I don't think I'm having a stroke. I can still talk. And I look at a total stranger. It's like, what does relaxing feel like for you? And they're like, oh gosh, it feels loose. It's good. That's a great question. And they started talking about how it feels to be relaxed. And I was like, I think I'm relaxed. I think this is what relaxation feels like in my body. I had not felt that. It's like, wait, I'm away from trauma. I'm away from drama. I'm away from abuse. I'm in the most magical place on earth. Like, I need more of this. Like, that became the moment that said to me, how do I be this? Not do. How do I be more relaxed? How do I become this more often? And that set me on this journey of figuring out how to actually conquer and break all of these cycles from the past. Because those cycles became my status quo. They just ruined my life. Destroyed it. So I had been trying to live up to the expectation of the world. Trying to deflect these bullets blindfolded. That's what had been happening. But on that day, there we go. I was forced out of my complacency. it didn't feel good like to get to that point, but once I hit that moment, the rest of my trip looked like this. I felt like I was that little girl again, sitting there, remembering what, I don't know if you guys remember, but I'm clicking it. I don't know if you remember, but I'm clicking it. Matt got distracted in the back. Like remembering back to Saturday morning cartoon. That little girl would get up every Saturday morning that she possibly could, and she would grab whatever she could for breakfast, usually cheese puffs and an RC Cola. And I would get to that floor model TV set. Most of you have to remember those in here. The ones that have the knob and you click it and it goes boom. And it comes up, and it was full Technicolor, trouble alert sounds. Super Friends, Lex Luthor is on the loose again. We need your help. And off they would go, up, up, and away. And in full primary colors and awesome background music, they would go save the day every single time. It didn't matter what was going on in the world. They were going to save it. And there were some times I was like, oh my gosh, the earth is off its axis. Do I feel it moving? That little girl had such curiosity and such wonder about her, not knowing everything else. I'm like, I want to tap into that too. And I was like, I always wanted to be Wonder Woman. I wanted to be her best friend at a minimum. I wanted to hang out with the Super Friends. I wanted to be one of them. Okay, so I want to be more relaxed and I want to be a super friend. How am I going to accomplish this? And I went, wait, there is a whole concept behind a hero's journey. This is nothing new. Everything that we read in a hero's story, all the way back to myth, it's called the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell wrote a book about it, Man with a Thousand Faces. He has a lot of steps in there that every hero story that you read follows a pattern. And for me, back to, I like for things to make sense. I noticed this pattern, and I noticed at a point in this pattern, I break off. And then I have to go back and start, and I only get to this point in the pattern. And I was like, what if I could get past that point? So I did some digging, I did the work, I put together the method, took the hero's journey, simplified it, started using tools that I learned from coaching and marketing and all the self-development success principles, and using the tools, applied them, and made my life different. I became something different. So if you'll bear with me just for a few more minutes, I'm going to show you what that looks like. The first thing that happens is you get called out. You get the call. So think about it. Every good hero story, something happens. Like I just told you a little bit about mine, everything fell apart. There were signs along the way. I should have noticed, but I didn't. But every good hero story, think of the latest Marvel movies, or even Wonder Woman or Aquaman, the latest one without, starts with something just happened to call that hero out of their comfort zone. And for us, it could be something as simple as your kid calling and saying, hey, I need money. Or it could be you get that call from the doctor says, really need you to come in to talk about those test results. It could be anything from, hey, I need you to come into the office, we got to talk. And when you get in the office, it could be, we're going to promote you. That's a whole new adventure. Who knows? But you get called out of your comfort zone. That's the first thing that happens. You have a choice. This is where it sets you on the path. You can choose to answer the call and yes, or you can choose to do nothing. A good superhero movie is at least 2 hours long. They said yes. So then we move on to the quest. And the quest is honestly my favorite part of this whole journey, because the quest is where all of the work happens. If you've seen any sort of hero movie, a superhero movie, or anything like that, there's always some sort of like training montage where they put that good music behind it and you're just getting clips of all of the progress along the way. That's where the quest is. You learn what the mission is all about. You learn what your job is supposed to be, what you're trying to accomplish. But you also get a mentor. Somebody wise comes along and gives you words of sage advice. Peter Parker's Uncle Ben, Spider-Man. So if you're not familiar with Spider-Man, has an Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. It's true. It's very wise words. And with that became the theme of his whole core value system. Also, your team shows up, your support system. The ones who are really in it with you on this quest will show up. They will share their own skills, their own powers to help get you where you need to be. You're gonna have a sidekick every so often. There's gonna be fans, but fans are fickle. We need to know the difference between all of these and where they fit in our world. The best thing that happens during the quest is you get to discover what you're made of. And with that, sometimes you didn't realize you could do the thing. You didn't know that was in you. And sometimes you've never taken a moment to say, who am I really? But this is where my fun stuff comes in. I love to do personality assessments. We do a core value assessment, emotional intelligence, a skills assessment. Like, what is it that makes you you? And let's really get that defined. Let's discover. Let's dig deep into that. I want to know everything that we possibly can. Sometimes it feels like therapy. Most of the time not. But it's self-discovery so that you get to decide what parts about you want to keep and what needs to go. Because there's so much about me from that past that needed to go. I used to never be able to ask questions. Children should be seen, not heard. So I never learned to ask questions until I went back to college later in my adult life and became a coach. Coaching is all about asking the good questions. It took me to get to like 40 years old before I learned to ask questions. Who knew? So when you just start to discover this quest, it's really, really important. And during that quest, as you're discovering what you're made of, you also need to learn to suit up so that you're ready for that next stage in all of this. So when you're ready to suit up, you know who you are, what you're about, your value system, what makes you, and then who do you want to become? Because this is more about being rather than just doing. So let's look at what it's going to take to suit up. So Al, this is going to be your favorite part because this is what you ready? All right. So I'm gonna have to put the microphone down for a hot second. Can everybody hear me in the back if I yell just a little bit more? Hot dog. Here we go. Because when it comes to this acronym of being super, making it very simple, the importance behind it is that as we are becoming our own superhero, it helps to have a visual, right, to understand how it all fits together. So let me see if I get this tied up here. I already asked if I could use props. Al said yes. So if this seems a little cheesy for you, it's Al's fault.
Blame me.
Blame him. I already caught that everybody could do that to him and he's cool with that. All right, so ready? So when we become our own superhero, the first thing about being super, we're going to suit up to take on that next level. The first thing is S, and that is significance. We learn from our heart to protect that with the armor, because what is coming from our heart creates the significance that we have in the world. And we get to decide what that is. You do. You get to decide what's important to you, nobody else. This is where we start to empower ourselves. But we need to protect our heart. That's the S. U is for understanding. Now, it's very helpful that she has a tiara because the understanding goes to being able to understand how you think, how others think, understanding what's really going on in the world, what is creating this.
You did a pretty good job. I'm pretty impressed with that.
This took a lot more practice than you might think. But having understanding of what's really happening, because understanding put into action creates wisdom that you can then share, discern, make better decisions. You can be more strategic. You can stop and pause to think because you know what your significance is. You know that you can stop to understand. And then the P is all about power.
It's all about the core. When your batteries are depleted, do you have anything to give anybody else? When you don't feel your best, can you actually give your best? So I want everybody to stand up for 10 seconds. Everybody stand up. All right. Get all situated. I want you to do a power pose. Hands on your hips, feet shoulder width apart. Looking up. I want you to take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. Now where are your shoulders? That's it. That's all it takes. 10 seconds to really hit a power pose, to reset the energy in your body. So one 10-second trick can help you start to recharge that, to help you recenter. During that breathing, you can actually think different. You can think a little clearer because you've given yourself a pausing moment. All right, ready for the E in super? Because for me, the E takes a tool. And the tool for that, the E is empathy. And the empathy requires truth. You guys are big on truth. I heard that word a lot at the beginning. Wonder Woman has a tool for that because it's not just my truth. I need to know your truth. I need to know your truth. And the only way I can get to that is the tools that I have. And if I'm not trained well to be able to pull the truth out of somebody else so that I can have more understanding, that I understand they have significance, I need to get to their truth so I can help them get to their truth through whatever feelings may be happening. Because our emotions fuel the power, fuel the core. How we feel about something gives it more energy. If you're really angry, how much harder are you going to hit something? You're channeling that energy. And if I can help somebody else do the same thing through truth and empathy, how much more powerful can we both be? And then, of course, I don't think this needs a whole lot of explanation, but the R. Let's see if I can get these on over top of my other ones. This I did not practice. There we go. And take the other ones off. Christy, that would be smart. There we go. Resilience. We are like, you are going to be deflecting stuff all the time, all day long, deflecting those bullets, but eyes wide open. Like you are now suited up to then enter into the next slide, which is the battles. Because for everything that happens in our life, we have battles that we are entering into, or in one right now, or we just came out of one. There is a battle about something all the time. Everybody's going through something. And if we know how to intentionally enter that battle differently, because we are different, we're going to win faster. We won't have those same battles over and over and over again. Remember, it took me from 4 years to 40 to stop having the same battle with myself. It was ridiculous until I figured it out. But entering that battle, and then there's always a defining moment within the battle. That defining moment is you and the villain, face to face. If you have not been prepared, you're going to get your butt kicked. And then you got to kind of start all over again. You may come against that same villain. And that pattern is going to repeat itself until you are able to conquer it. Sometimes that villain is something you can't control. It came out of nowhere. You had no idea. It's external. Sometimes that villain is the person you're looking at in the morning in the mirror. That's the one that comes back time and time again. I just fought with her this morning. I Told her to sit down, shut up. I got time for her today. So those defining moments help create this whole new trajectory of your life. If you lose, you go back to the start, you do it again. But if you win that battle, you have leveled up. So then what? So now we want to celebrate the victories. I don't care if it's a matter of it has been a horrible battle day and all I got done was the dishes. I deserve to watch a cartoon. I need something to be like, nope, I did good. Or sometimes in my marketing business, if I'm creating a website and y'all, anybody in here in a marketing business? Anybody do websites? Anybody build houses? Hardware, like what we do. The things that you do, there's something that you're like, I have done this 1,000 times and now it's not working. Are you flipping kidding me? But you conquered it. You didn't give up. You beat it. By golly, I deserve a pat on the back for that one. Sometimes I do my little dance and then I move along. Take a moment to celebrate. Sometimes you're celebrating huge things, like Oldham County is, how long is it?
200 years.
200 years.
On Thursday.
On Thursday. Be there, because she wants people to show up to celebrate. That's a big celebration. Stop to celebrate even the smallest victories of your life. It will help power your core. Like, all of this is very cyclical. It goes in a pattern. If you are awake today, upright and moving, you are still in an adventure, whether you realize it or not. And ideally, you would start to realize it, because everybody has continuing adventures. Change is going to happen whether we like it or not. Ideally, we would be ahead of ourselves in the midst of change. We get to choose how we want to be and how we want to show up every single day. And what I have done to conquer the complacency villain is to choose to look at my life as a heroic adventure. I don't have to go out and build new buildings and have my name on it. That's not the point. I don't have to save the world from evil dictators. I don't even know where I was going with that, but it's like, because you guys have this whole mission about eradicating polio. But is one person doing it? No. How many years and how many people has it taken to get it from here to here? Like, that is this ongoing mission that you guys have collectively with the Rotary. Like, this is an amazing thing that you guys are doing in the world. Do you celebrate those moments when something good happens for it? Feed into that. Know that you are on your way to conquering that villain. And then look at your own life with that. So with that, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I encourage you guys all to look at your life as a continuing adventure. And thank you so much for your time.
We have one question. That's all you get today. One. The one question for Christy.
I doubt anybody has any questions.
Well, I don't know. So where do you do this speech? Or where do you think that you're, like, what kind of group are you focusing on to do this kind of talk?
I would love to say humans, but business leaders of organizations are my main, because my focus is, if I can affect those at the top, it should be a trickle down concept. So I love to work with the leaders.
Thank you. Love your energy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for being here today. We're going to make a contribution to Polio Plus in your name. And we have a small symbol. We hope it'll be a meaningful symbol of your time with us today. It's a Rotary coin. And we're so thankful for you to be here.
Thank you so much. Oh,
Yeah, she's got a prize for you. So we're going to draw a number for the split the pot, and then we're going to draw another number for her prize. So, there you go.
Christy.
Julie.
Christy, I'll speak. Let me get
Oh.
Stephen, will you share that with me? That would be great. Thank you.
What color is it?
Blue it is.
Blue it is, okay. Who did that?
Split the pot here.
You're gonna do the, okay.
This is so fascinating.
All right, your number is 524.
I have 3 and 5.
Oh, man.
Stop. To spin the wheel. Here's, you get the throw prize. 5.
And what this, I was gonna say, what this is the Being Super book that I wrote. I'm in the process of revising that and adding to it. And then also the planners that I create that helps you be more strategic with your time and effort. If you guys don't use planners, please pass it along to somebody who needs something really good. So here you go.
Oh,
5, 4, 2.
Your best.
Okay, don't forget, board members, we have a meeting. So today's